Hello scholars, this video is intended to give you clarity and hopefully make simple the rules and expectations for what you'll be doing this week as you put together your PowerPoint presentations. So really what we need to understand is just how not to misuse visuals. I really like this picture of Godzilla talking to all the other monsters on how to go and destroy mainland Japan. But if this was a speech where we were giving these presentations in person, I would also have to chastise the picture because he's turned his back to the audience. Now, we don't have to worry about that so much since we're online, but it is something important to remember. Your visuals shouldn't distract you, they should enhance what's going on for the audience. So let's run through a simple set of rules and we'll look at a few examples and hopefully get you going on your own projects. First of all, keep it simple. The KISS method, I suppose you could say, keep it simple student, K-I-S-S, or keep it simple stupid when you're an instructor. Simplicity is your friend in presentations like this. My dear friend, Dr. Ben Crosby at Iowa State University talks about how we often flip visual aids the other way around and make them aided visuals. And what he means by that is too often, people create visuals where they have to aid the visual to explain what people are seeing, to go into a very convoluted description, and that shouldn't happen when we're using visual aids. Instead, the visual should make what you're saying more clear, and that's only going to happen if you have a very simple, non-complex thing for us to look at. Whether you're using pictures or text, and I hope that we're a little bit more picture-laden and less text-laden, and we'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes, everything needs to be big enough for people to see. All too often, and I'm sure you've sat through a lecture at some point in time as a student, somebody puts up a PowerPoint and there's this tiny little microscopic words, and you can't see anything. And it's one of the weird instances where you actually hope somebody reads off the PowerPoint to you, because otherwise you're not going to know what's there. So any text needs to be large enough for anybody in our room, any viewers, when we're working online, so anybody looking at video, needs to be large enough for it to see, and any pictures also need to fill up a bulk of the screen. Tiny pictures just aren't going to cut it for us. And you can, of course, expand them here throughout PowerPoint too, and as you'll see as you work through some things. I do ask that you stick to one central font here throughout your presentation, something visually pleasing. This isn't MySpace back in the year 2000. Here we are in 2019, and you're students at a professional university. So find a good text. Don't look at one of the weird fancy ones like Comic Sans or anything. Arial, Calibri, New Times Roman, these are pretty simple and very easy and visual pleasing text that everybody can see. And along the lines of MySpace, folks, please don't mix your colors of a whole bunch. Sometimes it's difficult to see, and as you put together your presentations, you'll understand this for yourself. I'm sure some of you have already tried to squint in at the video and see the yellow coloring there. It says use your colors wisely and yours in yellow. Make sure that your colors are really easy to see in your background. So let's say that I had taken this purple and spread it all the way across. Well, I couldn't use purple text on top of purple background. It just simply wouldn't look very good. Nobody would be able to see it. And some backgrounds don't lend themselves very well to visuals, and some colors don't really lend themselves well to text. We do have to keep in mind that people do have red-green color blindness, and so in particular males are more susceptible to this, but there may in fact be a gentleman watching this video right now that can't see the U's very well, and the use your colors wisely there at the bottom of the page. So red text, though it does tend to stand out, isn't always the best choice for what we're doing. Now, as you're putting together your slide presentation itself, and probably no more than 10 slides, just, again, keep it simple, and you want to think, well, we've got about a 5-minute threshold for this speech, and at most, we want somebody to spend 45 seconds on a slide, and we still want to have enough substance there for them to talk for 15 to 30 seconds. So 30 seconds a slide is going to be standard. 10 slides probably going to be our maximum for this. So we begin with the title slide. Let me back all the way back up here. There it is right there, using visual aids, a title to what I'm doing here in our presentation. and then a nice little picture to get us started, something for me to talk about. Let's start off with the title slide, and we end with some sort of a summary page. Now, this may be a page that says, here are the things that I explained to you today. You may also end up putting a reference page in after that, in some instances, depending on how much source citation material that you've gone and found. And then as you move along, really, folks, keep the text to a minimum. What we really don't want is for somebody to sit and read to us over the course of a presentation. That's not fun for us to watch in any circumstance, whether it's an online recorded video as we'll be doing, an in-person lecture, or any other number of ways of delivering information. Don't allow somebody to read to us. One sentence is probably enough for most of your slides, in addition to your title banner, if you're going to keep that across all the way through, which I am doing here today. But anything beyond that, we're probably getting too much. Now, there are, of course, instances where more is required. But I do, from both a personal and a professional standpoint, recommend that you never go beyond 3 sentences per slide. It's okay for you to put a second slide in with 3 more sentences on it, but the more information you have, the more likely people are to become disengaged and to stop paying attention to you. Now, pause for a second. Just think to yourself, have you watched me in the little corner there speaking the entire time while I've been on this particular page, or have you gone back and forth and reread some of the text that's there? Be honest. Almost certainly you've gone to look at that text. And the more stuff that's there, the more we encourage whoever's viewing the media or listening to us speak to become distracted, to not pay attention to what we're doing. And so that's up to you to really make smart choices. And as an assignment like this, it's a little bit more important because you're not giving your presentation, somebody else is going to give it. And so you want that onus, all that attention to be on the person and not necessarily on the visual. Because it's a visual aid, not an aided visual, like Ben Crosby would say. And then when you use pictures, and I hope that you use a multitude of pictures, 1 to 2 per slide, don't go crazy on pictures. They really need to be clear and very straightforward. We need to be able to see and understand what's there so that whoever's using the presentation aid doesn't have to explain what we're seeing. And to help out with that, as you work through your visual, I'm just going to clear out of this for a second. You can see down here at the very bottom, and you'll see this when you open up your own PowerPoint, there's an area that says click to add notes, and I can type in anything I want and that stays there. And only the person looking at that's using the media will be able to see this. So whoever's using your PowerPoint can see any notes that you leave for them right down there at the bottom, which is great, really. Because when they set this back up, and I'm going to go right back up to slideshow and hit play from current slide, as you can see right there, you cannot, as the viewer of the media, you cannot see any of those notes that I've written down there, which is excellent. So a couple of examples, and then I'm going to turn you loose and see what you can do this week. Here's a sample visual. I pulled all these off the web. Here's a sample visual on organ donation finances. It's decent colors, and there's some clarity to it. Mostly large enough to see, but there's also some issues with this. If you look around the pie chart, in the yellow we've got a different color of text, which I think makes sense because white text in there would be difficult to see, but at the same time it does create a little bit of a disharmony between the white text and the others. In the personal pie slice, the blue one there, exactly what it is and how much money it costs is set within the pie piece instead of outside of it like we see on everything else around there. And so it's kind of weird to look over this thing and try and figure out what's going on. Not bad, but not great. I mean, we could probably find something better. We could probably build something better ourselves with a little bit of time spent in one of your art programs. Here's a great picture of a badger, which I absolutely love. I'm sorry, I'm getting silly. I probably have not had enough coffee yet today. But this is an excellent picture that demonstrates what's going on, what a badger would look like, but at the same time, it is kind of distracting. So I don't know if this would be a great picture to show if you know you're going to be continuously talking. You'd have to put this picture up and then pause for a moment and let everybody who's absorbing the media kind of have their moment to like reel back or smile and giggle just a little bit to look at that. And it does look kind of ferocious and frightening. So I've got a big text box that I put into this, and here, let me X out for just a second. If you click on any of the pictures in your PowerPoint, there's a picture format thing that comes up top here. So we can change how this looks. And I've done that on our next slide anyways, because going from the big, blocky, crazy picture to the little circle kind of makes it look a little cuter. Which is weird, because it's the same picture, but the presentation is a little bit different. And really, we're going to leave all that up to you. I want you to play with things. I want you to experiment with stuff as we do this, because like a lot of your college courses, what we're doing here is practice for what we do outside of the university. And I want you to play around, have some fun, do some different things, see what does and doesn't work, and how you want to use this technology for your own benefit. Here's just an absolutely dreadful cuts of beef visual aid. There's just too much going on here. The colors are weird. It doesn't really seem very demonstrative of what actual cuts of beef look like unless everything's rotten and poisoned. But it is really kind of hard to see. Like the green and the yellow on that white background. There's some fuzziness within the excuse me, within the text. So we can probably find something better to use in such a demonstration. Here's a good example of a couple of side-by-sides talking about how bats use sonar and comparing it to how the sonar is used on submarines. We have two fairly clear pictures here. You wouldn't have to spend a lot of time explaining what's going on. In the bat picture, you can see the sound waves moving out, hitting the bug, and then within the initial sound waves, there's a second set coming back. So you would probably also have to tell somebody how submarines operate just a little bit in case they don't know too much about. But we're in New England. We're not too far away from the submarine bases over in Connecticut, and I believe there's another one here in Rhode Island. So there may be a little bit more knowledge of that than back in the Midwest where I originate from. And then finally, I've never had a semester of teaching where somebody didn't try and use a visual aid like this. Please, look at this and maybe throw up in your mouth a little bit and determine for yourself that you never, ever want to be that person. That you care more about your audience than to use this visual and hurt them. I believe it's a visual on how it's a text format visual, and I think there's something to do with taxes in there. So it's really just an awful visual all around. So I want you to find good, clear images. I want them to be simple. I want the words we use to be simple, and everything to work out just fine in the end.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
And there's one of my
I'm
office
Angela.
mates. I'm recording a video. Give me 30 seconds. It's okay. I'm just about done. Anyways, folks, do send me any questions that you have on this, and I will look forward to seeing what you were working on this week. Bye.